From the Global News Center, the Morning News with Crystal Garrett, Paul Brothers, and Jill Chappell. Sitting in today, Brett Ruskin.
Back with a quick chat about hearing aid technology coming up right after the break. Well, welcome back to the Morning News. With our aging population here in Nova Scotia, it's important to keep all of our senses sharp. And so today we're talking about hearing. And to answer a few questions about saving our hearing and also what you can do if you start losing your hearing, we're joined by Frank Skubski. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning. I'm great. How are you?
Thanks for coming in.
Good to be here.
So, as we said, it's kind of well known that people are aging here in Nova Scotia and across North America. How important is, hearing and maintaining our hearing in the aging process?
Well, I think hearing is probably one of the more underrated senses that we have. To be able to see, for instance, you're just kind of visualizing things, but hearing really, what we do in the hearing aid business at least, is not just about amplifying sounds, it's allowing people to communicate with each other. And as we get older, there are certain frequencies that we have that are really keys to understanding speech. They start to go. As we get 65, 75, we see the incidence of hearing loss even increasing at those ages. So what tends to become difficult for these people is that if they're in a noisy environment or just communicating one-on-one, they really can't understand speech, and that just leads to shutting down, becoming depressed, and isolated. The incidence of hearing loss is going to triple in the next 10 years with the aging population.
Really?
And it is the largest untreated disability in the world today.
And so is there anything we can do before we talk about how to kind of treat it? Is there any way to prevent hearing loss? Any suggestions, or is it just something that's barreling towards us?
It's something like reading glasses. It's going to hit you head on eventually. It creeps up on you. It takes a long time for a person to recognize that they have a hearing loss because it is kind of a slow onset. But we recommend that, when you hit age 50, 55, you really should be thinking about getting a hearing test, as part of just your overall well-being.
And so how does that work when someone gets a hearing test? They check both their ears and there's a sound?
Yeah, we present a series of tones to them, usually with some headphones or these little insert phones that we put inside the ears. And we test, basically how they're perceiving these different frequencies. We do have what we call normal hearing. But, when we start to see people getting older, we see those high frequencies starting to go away. So they have a tough time understanding consonant sounds, and that's really what differentiates speech for us and helps us understand.
And that's when it starts to go, when you start not being able to communicate.
That's right. And, the one thing we always say about people with hearing loss is that, it's just not their problem. It's also the problem of the people that are living with them, too, because it becomes extremely difficult. You'll walk into someone's home and the TV's blasting, for instance, and you're wondering, why is the TV so loud? And it's probably because this person has a hearing loss.
Speaking of TV, and we don't have a little bit of time left, but we'll talk about some of the products that you have. You mentioned this product here connects your TV to your hearing aid.
That's right. Actually, inside this little tiny hearing aid right here, there's actually an FM antenna in here, and it utilizes a 2.4 gigahertz FM frequency. So these are the only products really in the industry today that will connect directly to a device like this. So this will plug in directly to your television set or computer or any other sort of audio device, and it will stream directly to the hearing instrument.
Speaking of connecting to devices, you also have a hearing aid that connects to an iPhone.
That's correct. Yeah, we have the world's first made for iPhone hearing instrument.
And I have this connected to our global screen. We'll see if we can pull up the app that I have here that it can actually adjust. So I'll bring up the right-hand side, bring up the left-hand side, back and forth. So this is just a demo as well. But here's a question. How many seniors who might use a hearing aid might actually use an iPhone? That seems like there might not be much cross between those two groups.
Yeah, I mean, we've obviously, before we launched the product, the company did a lot of studies on that. And we know that smartphone usage among seniors, whether on the the iOS platform or the Android platform, is around 17% today. Okay. But it's increasing 50% a year. But that's not to say that, getting a hearing instrument, you have to have an iPhone, right? I mean, we have other devices that you can utilize, to adjust the volume, to change programs, and to access other audio devices without having an iPhone. But the iPhone gives you a lot of flexibility because people don't know you're adjusting your hearing aid, right?
That's a good point, too.
You're discreetly doing it because nobody wants someone to know you're wearing a hearing aid, right?
That's true, but there's lots of different options out there. If you do need a hearing aid, if you want to get your ears checked, go out and do it. Frank, thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.